Senior pastor, your worship leader frustrates the heck out of you. You don't understand them. You can't seem to communicate. You wonder why they have to be so artsy and unorganized and have all sorts of ideas that they can't seem to execute. Let me give you 5 ways that you can help your worship leader thrive and grow as a person and as a church leader. Number 1, help them understand their role. Most worship leaders get thrown into ministry with 0 formal training. They have no one telling them what the goal is, what they're supposed to be doing, how to do it. They're literally just reaching their hand into a hat, picking out songs at random. There's no intention or thought behind what they're doing. They were holding a guitar, they were gifted at music, and the pastor said, "Tag, you're it, do the thing." And they're like, "What's the thing?" And so then they're looking online like, what is Bethel doing? What is Hillsong doing? Without even asking the fundamental questions of what is a worship leader? What is a worship pastor? And what does it mean to be a church leader and a shepherd first? They don't know what actual success is. They think they do, but they're mistaken because they're taking their cues from what they see online. They're not taking their cues from what does scripture say my role is. And so most worship leaders don't understand the fullness, the importance, the impact of their role, that they are one of the primary disciple makers in the church. They are actually putting words on people's lips that are going to carry them through the week. It's going to shape their theology. And so really helping the worship leader understand you are primarily a disciple maker, a pastor, a shepherd. You're not a performer, you're a pastor. You're not a song leader, you're a shepherd. Your job is not to sing songs. Your job is to lead the room. Your job is to help the church get a bigger, grander, more beautiful view of who Jesus is. And I don't just want you randomly picking songs and just getting up there singing. I want you to lead us through scripture and prayers and confessions and yes, songs, but to really help them understand the importance and the impact of their role and that they're a leader first and a musician second. Because I think when people understand the importance of what they're doing, they take it more seriously. You are literally shaping people's soul. The corporate worship experience is a formative experience. How we do things, what we do is forming people in a certain direction, whether for good or for bad. And so how we do our production, how we pick our songs, how we lead the room, all of that is a formative experience that happens habitually week after week that is shaping people into something. And so really helping them understand the fullness of what they're shaping people into. Number 2, help them get organized. Most creatives are not good at being productive or proactive or focused, and they struggle with follow through. And so as a senior pastor, why not mentor one of the most important people on your staff to be a better human, not just a better Christian? Yes, we want to cover discipleship, but like disciple them also in the practical areas of time management and developing routines or developing systems and processes for themselves in their personal life and for their ministry. And so what this could be, it could be a conversation where you're just asking about their current workflow and you're offering suggestions. Oh, have you ever thought about trying this? Or, oh, this is how I plan my week. Or, hey, tell me about how you do your tasks each week. I'm not trying to micromanage you. I just want to help you streamline. And so you could give them homework and say, hey, this week, I want to help you develop a more streamlined workflow so that you have more time to just encourage your team or take people out to coffee or take people out to lunch. So I'd love for you this week to categorize your tasks that you do every week by type, write them all out on a paper, and we can start to batch your tasks. So just teaching them those concepts, because I've found most worship leaders don't listen to leadership podcasts. They actually listen to like dumb, stupid. Okay, this sounds so bad, but like most worship leaders are not actually interested in the stuff that I teach, which is like practical training. They're literally scrolling memes on their Instagram. Like the most popular worship accounts are meme accounts. And I'm friends with the guys who run those accounts, but it's like, oh no, like this is what our worship leaders spend their time scrolling past and thinking about. So anyway, for us pastors, senior pastors, disciple your worship leaders to be more organized. And the reasons this is important, and you guys intuitively know this, is that stability precedes growth. Like an organization can't grow unless there's stability and reliability. And so you want to help your worship leader become a stable, reliable, consistent person and create a stable, reliable, consistent ministry. And we do teach all of this in the academy. But the reason for that stability is when things are stable and things aren't shifting and changing constantly week after week, then things can go up. Like you can't build a skyscraper without a solid foundation. And so really helping your worship leader get organized and efficient with their structuring of their life and their ministry is a huge thing that you can help them with. Number 3, oversee their song choices. Truthfully told, most people forget what your sermon is about after their lunch. I say that with such love and such respect. I'm not saying the sermon is not important. The sermon is so important, and God commands us to preach the word. So thank you for faithfully laboring hours every week doing that. However, people walk out of church humming the songs, and they often, maybe it's just me, I forget sermons. Okay, maybe it's just me. I forget sermons. But songs are sticky. Songs are the stickiest thing. They go with us from cradle to grave. That's why we teach people the ABCs in song form, and we teach kids the 50 states in song form, because songs are one of the strongest mnemonic devices. They stick things into our minds. And so your church is actually learning more from the songs that your worship leader is singing than your sermons. At least in the sense that they're carrying those ideas with them much longer and much more actively in their mind. And so your church is learning their theology from the songs. They're learning about themselves and the world and worldview through the songs that your worship leader is singing. And so as the senior over shepherd of your flock, don't you want to make sure that you have an eyeball on the songs that your people are singing? I would love for senior pastors to work directly with their worship leaders. Again, not micromanaging, but again, casting that bigger vision of, hey, this is really important and here's why. And I would love to partner with you in making sure that the songs we're singing are clear, congregational, biblical, singable, right? There are a lot of great songs in the world, but just because a song is great on the radio doesn't mean it's great in the congregational setting. So we as senior pastors should be making sure that at least for a season, we've got our eyeballs and our minds on the songs that are being sung in our church, and that we're telling our worship leaders, hey, don't just pick 5 random songs or 5 songs that you like. No, we can do better than that. Why don't we pick our songs around the theme of the sermon and of the service? But what that means for senior pastors is that you need to actually get your worship leaders the sermon title in advance, not Friday night. Okay. So even if you can give them a list of the whole month, hey, this month I'm going to cover this passage, then this passage, and I want you to pick songs around those passages. I have a free ebook on the power and importance of strong songs, strong congregational songs, what that means, where to find them, how to pick them. And they can get it at worshipministrytraining.com/songs. But oversee the song choices. Number 4, set up a cadence of communication. Unfortunately, heard of many worship leaders who don't regularly meet with their senior pastor. But you guys are like 2 peas in a pod, whether you like it or not. Like you're the 2 primary faces on stage. And so you really want to be in a good connection with your worship pastor, worship leader. And so you want to have a regular point of connection for encouragement, discipleship, feedback to your worship leader, because clear communication does a lot of things, but it definitely fuels trust and understanding, because now your worship leader and you are actually talking instead of assuming, and you're actually able to give them specific things you think they're doing well and specific things you want them to work on. Then they don't have to wonder where they stand with you and if they're living up to your expectations. Also, if you ask for something, you're more likely to get it than if you don't ask for something. And so you need to just be clear with your worship leader what you're wanting from them, what you wish you saw more of, what you think they could grow in. Also, of course, pepper in lots of encouragement in those conversations, but you want to have a standing meeting where you two can clearly communicate, and then you want to really try to stick to that. I personally like to do it Monday mornings. We just had service. It's all fresh in our minds. We come in, we kind of debrief, and then we talk about the next service, and the worship pastors hopefully being proactive and asking, like, is there anything you want to see more of, or anything you want me to do this weekend, or all those things? But if they're not proactive, you can kind of just lead the conversation as well. But usually Monday mornings works well because it's fresh in your mind and the worship pastor's mind. You can do a lot in an hour if you know what you want to accomplish. It's like, all right, we're going to debrief Sunday, talk about upcoming Sunday, and here's a few like thoughts that I want you to consider, discipleship thoughts or mentoring thoughts. And you know what? Honestly, pray with the worship leader, pray with your worship pastor. Very important. Number 5, resource the team. This is a little bit different than the others in the sense that this is not something that you are doing to your worship leader. It's something that you're asking your worship leader to do for the team. A lot of pastors say that their worship ministry struggles in musical excellence. And what they don't understand is that a huge part of musical excellence comes from the resources that the team has access to. What I mean by that is your worship leader should be giving their team a clean, clear, correct chord chart, an MP3 in the proper key, and any tutorial videos videos about how to execute the song that they can find on YouTube or get a subscription to Worship Artistry or Worship Online. But basically, your worship leader is resourcing the team early enough in the week, then the team actually has time to practice at home and show up prepared, which elevates musical worship, which elevates the experience on Sundays. So many people don't understand how to get musical excellence, but it's not that hard. Now, this is just one factor of musical excellence. I have a whole course on it, but this is an important one, which is your worship leader should be giving the team the tools they need in the time that they need to succeed. The tools they need with the time that they need to succeed. In other words, tools plus time equals excellence. This is something that you want to have a conversation about with your worship leader and say, hey, are you doing this? What kind of resources are you giving the team each week? And how early are you getting those resources to them? Because if your worship leader is picking the set on Friday night, I can guarantee you that no one on the team has time to practice. And then they're showing up Sunday and just like barely making it through rehearsal. And so as worship leaders, we really want to get the team what they need to succeed as early as possible. This is more of a, hey, heads up, senior pastor, make sure you are checking in with your worship leader about what they're giving their team and how early they're giving it to them. That will help the excellence level at your church improve. Lastly, invest in your worship leader. Now you're like, Alex, I don't have time to sit down with my worship pastor and tell him why he's not organized and all this. And that's why we created the academy is senior leaders don't have the time for this stuff or the knowledge. And that's okay. That's not your sphere, your domain that you own or are knowledgeable about, nor do you need to be. And that's where I love to partner with churches to say, hey, put your worship leader in the academy and we'll train them for you. It's $19 a month. If you pay annually, it's $19 a month. There's 10 in-depth courses. We cover all the major topics: production, team building, musical excellence, increasing congregational engagement, participation, group communication. I mean, everything a worship leader needs to know, not just the musical side, but the leadership side, the discipleship side. We have done for them team devos to lead their team spiritually. We have done for them musician training resources so that I can train the musicians on the team for them. They just have to send the link. We've done all the work, onboarding documents, audition process. It's all done. They just take the system and plop it into the ministry. It's $19 a month. And so I just would encourage senior pastors, if you don't want to do it, I will do it for you and would love to partner with your worship leader to see a more robust and biblical and fruitful and impactful worship ministry. Because when I go to a church and if I sense a very vibrant worship time, I'm not saying Pentecostal, but just you can sense that Christ is revered in that place and that the people are it's all eyes on Jesus, that directly impacts the rest of the church. The health of the church and also new visitors, new people checking out the church, when they go and they sense wow, there's something special going on here, they're more likely to come back and maybe make it their church home. So I think it's very important that we get worship ministry right in our churches. Besides the preaching, 50% of the time is preaching and 50% of the time is worship. It's almost a 50-50 split, maybe 60-40, but it's so visible and so vital. And so do what you need to do, senior pastor, to invest in your worship leader. It's a fully online platform. It's got all of our courses. It's got live monthly trainings. We have expert interviews with some of the best worship leaders in the world, and the academy students get to ask their questions. In terms of time commitment, it's completely up to them. We have weekly assignments that they can do in under an hour that will help them improve their ministry 1 week at a time. But they can go way deeper if they want to. If they just want to binge watch all the courses, they could probably get through all the courses in a month or two. But then they end up sticking around because we do live monthly trainings and we do live interviews and we do live coaching calls and live stream assessments and set assessments and all these things. So most people stay for between 4 months to 2 years. I mean, we've only been around for 2 years, but we've had people staying on since the beginning. And then we have a 15-day trial. So you basically don't get charged for 15 days. So they could just check it out. And we have a 60-day money-back guarantee. So there's not really any reason not to put your worship leader in, unless they're just stubborn, If you're feeling like you failed in leading your worship leader and you're wondering if they are too far gone to save, let me share some words with you. The best thing you can do is humble yourself and go to your worship leader, because they might be feeling frustrated. My senior pastor never makes time for me. My senior pastor never asks about my family. My senior pastor XYZ, and they're frustrated. But if you come to them humbly and say, hey, listen, I heard this podcast and it made me realize I'm not doing the best job leading you. And I just want to apologize for that and own that. That would mean so much, first of all, for them to hear that from you. And you would set a great precedent for them to have that humble posture towards the people they lead. And then say, and here's what I want to do about it. I'd love to set up a Monday meeting with you. I'd love to be able to ask what's going on in your family life and pray with you, and then just begin to make the changes. So that's how I would answer the senior pastors. Now, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, my worship leader is a hot mess. First of all, do everything you can to help them grow. But the thing is, not everybody's going to want to grow. But you can only do what you can do, which is I'm going to invest in them. I'm going to encourage them. I'm going to help them develop as a person and as a Christian and as a musician. And I'm going to do what I can do. And I'm also going to vision cast that higher calling for them and ask them to step into that. If they refuse, because some people don't want to, then they will make it clear to themselves that they no longer want to be there. It's kind of a natural pressure cooker where you're like, hey, we're going to make some changes. I want to grow. I want you to grow, this and that. And you're helping them grow. It's either grow or go, basically. And you're not saying it like that, but they will be like, ugh, I don't like all this pressure that I'm all of a sudden getting from my senior pastor to like level up as a leader and to actually take my role seriously and actually lead my team and actually disciple people and actually think intelligently about the songs that we're singing. I don't like all this. I'm getting out of here. So they're either going to lean in and grow or they're going to lean out and go. And so I would say lead well, pastor. There's a passage where Paul says, strengthen the faint-hearted, comfort the weak, and then be patient with them all. So be patient with your worship pastor, but speak that truth into them and hold them to that higher standard and help them try to get there. And if they don't want to do it, they'll leave. And then you're free to call Vanderbloemen and be like, hey, help me find somebody. I hope this video helped you. God wants you to work well with your worship leader. So grab that free ebook, worshipministrytraining.com/songs, or I'll put a link below this video, or sign up your worship leader for the Worship Ministry Training Academy. It's completely free to try for 15 days. And then it's just $19 a month if you pay annually, or $35 a month if you pay monthly. And there's a 60-day money-back guarantee, so there's really no risk. So sign up your worship leader today and let me help them grow and develop a healthy, robust, beautiful, impactful worship ministry at your church. God bless you.